right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Jacob Pruitt. I am the chair of the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce and EDC Board of Directors. I'm also vice president and general manager for T. Rowe Price. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon, and we're excited to hear from the governor. As Dirk mentioned earlier, around the Chamber and EDC, we're committed to driving economic growth and prosperity in the region. Now, it's my honor to introduce today's keynote speaker. You know, as I was reviewing the governor's bio, three things stood out to me. First of all, he's a lifelong successful entrepreneur. He has a strong track record of advocating for small business and startups. His commitment to public education and developing the workforce of the future. These areas of focus by the governor are essential ingredients to a thriving community, state, and they align nicely with the efforts that are underway with the Colorado Springs Chamber and as well as the City of Colorado. City of Colorado Springs, rather. So now let me provide you some details of the governor's impressive bio. Governor Jared Polis is an entrepreneur, education leader, public servant, and a Colorado native. After launching several successful companies, one that he launched from his dorm room. So I would say for all the parents who have kids in college, there's still hope. Governor Polis committed himself to making others in the state have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. The governor founded schools for at-risk students, immigrants, and he started nonprofits for veterans as well as entrepreneurs. Prior to serving as the governor, he served on the State Board of Education, where he helped raise pay for teachers, as well as reduce the size of classrooms. And he also represented Colorado's 2nd Congressional District, where he was rated the most effective member of the Colorado delegation. So, with any further ado, I'd like to welcome the governor of the state of Colorado, Jared Polis.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I appreciate that. I have to say, this is very tempting. There's this switch here. I don't know who put this up there. It's on off. What happens if I put it on? Can I do that? I'm going to do that. Whoa, look, it just goes on. Okay, I don't know. It was exciting. We don't usually see that on our podiums. It's great to be here in Colorado Springs. It's my pleasure to be at the historic Antler Hotel in the City of Champions. You know, as we confront historic social and technological changes throughout our country, of course, throughout our state, of course, I want to start by saying what an honor it is to serve as Colorado's 43rd governor. I also want to recognize the great legislative delegation from El Paso County serving in the General Assembly. I think many of them are here. From the State Senate, we have Dennis Heisey from District 2, Paul Lundeen from District 9, Owen Hill from District 10, Pete Lee from District 11, Bob Gardner from District 12. Let's give our state senators a round of applause. From the State House, we have Shane Sandridge from District 14, Dave Williams from 15, Larry Liston from 16, Tony Exum from 17, Mark Snyder from 18, and Tim Geithner from 19. Let's give our state representatives a round of applause. I'm told that Terry Carver from 20 and Lois Landgraf from 21 might also be here. Of course, Mayor John Suthers. And I'm told by Mark Waller, all 5 commissioners are here. I've only seen Mark, but I know that the other 4 are somewhere around. I always like to remind our commissioners, remember, political subdivisions of the state, right? And of course, I'm very supportive of local control in all things, as you know, education, oil and gas, so many different areas where when we empower our problem solvers on the ground, our commissioners, our city councils, they can really get great things done. The level of government that's most responsive and most efficient is always the level of government that's closest to the people on the ground, and we really value the work that our county commissioners do. I met our county health director for El Paso County. We're so thrilled to have competent, engaged people managing that at the county level rather than out of Denver. As many of you know, I stand here so proud to be our 43rd governor. I have as a partner our great Lieutenant Governor, Diane Primavera, a healthcare leader, a former legislator, one of the toughest people on the planet, a 4-time cancer survivor who raised her 2 children as a single mother. One became an attorney and the other successful. But she was this great, successful single mother and 4-time cancer survivor. She is the head of our Office of Saving People Money on Healthcare. One of the very first executive orders that I did as governor is to create an office whose sole charge is to reduce healthcare costs for businesses, for individuals, and really do the interagency coordination, the way the state operates. Healthcare resides in a number of different areas, and we wanted somebody whose focus was simply saving people money, because Coloradans and Americans in general are really tired of being ripped off on healthcare costs, and we're partnering with providers, insurers, and so many others to deliver better patient value and save people money. You know, here in Colorado, the great state that we call home, we dream, we dare, and we do. We climbed the highest mountains. We looked far past the horizons. We overcame tough economic times to build one of the strongest state economies in our country. And I'm not here just to talk about where we are today. I'm here to talk about the state of what is yet to come, how to build upon our success to make our state even better. Because in the days and months and years ahead, we want to not only build on the achievements of the past, but to boldly forge a new path into the future, to make change work for us rather than against us. I think the fundamental angst that we see on the left and the right of the political spectrum is, how do these vast social and economic and technological changes affect people? For too many Coloradans, they're working harder for less. They might be earning more, but what does that mean if your wages went up 3%, but your rent went up 9%, or your kid's college tuition went up 10%? Costs have gone up more than wages, and people are frustrated that we need to make it work better for everyday Coloradans. I think here in our state, we've become a model for how we can put political labels aside and work together to support sectors from agriculture to outdoor recreation to aerospace to bioscience to energy to cannabis to cybersecurity. We've watched industries succeed and create jobs by removing barriers to success. My administration's mission and mandate begins with tackling the everyday challenges that Coloradans face because of the rising cost of living. Providing, for example, every child with free full-day kindergarten, lowering the cost of health care, creating good-paying jobs in the clean energy sector, and reducing the income tax so Coloradans have more money left over at the end of every month to invest or enjoy the Colorado that we love. Together, we're going to build an economy where Coloradans from all walks of life aren't just struggling to get by, but can truly thrive. Whether it's a small business owner in Fremont County whose health care costs are threatening their Colorado dream, or a rancher in Fort Morgan whose livelihood is threatened by drought, or an entrepreneur here in Colorado Springs worried about where their health care will come from if they left their big company job, or a low-income parent in Lewis Palmer School District here who pays over $200 a month for kindergarten for their child. To everyone, I want to say our administration will work tirelessly to make our state work better for you, so that people can earn a good living, share in our amazing way of life, because I think every one of us here wants to see every Coloradan succeed, truly a Colorado for all. And part of what defines that Colorado for all are the values that we live by. Values like equality under the law and honesty and the sanctity of basic human rights, a free market for exchange of goods and services, individual responsibility. And you know, we see the erosion of some of these values in too many quarters of our nation today, which make them all the more precious and cherished here in El Paso County and in the state of Colorado. You know, here in Colorado and building a Colorado for all, we really want to embrace as a strength the great diversity that our state has. We want to build a Colorado that works for our Native American brothers and sisters who've been here for thousands of years, for descendants of the Spanish settlers of 500 years ago, for first-generation Coloradans like me, whose parents moved to Colorado in 1970. I was born a few years later. And for our newest arrivals from Mexico, from China, from Illinois, last week, last month, last year. We are all part of Colorado's great success. You know, last summer, in the heat of the campaign, my partner Marlon and I were having a conversation with our 6-year-old son. He wanted to know the difference between all the different political parties, you know, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green, Socialist, and so on. And at the end, he went over to his 4-year-old sister and asked her, "What political party are you in?" And without missing a beat, our daughter said, "The Happy Birthday Party." It was one of those great moments in the parent experience where your child shows you wisdom that you can't get from most adults. It's really the type of wisdom that will guide the problem-solving approach of this administration. Because what truly matters is not the label next to the name. We all have birthdays, we all work hard, we all have lives. What matters is what ideas are good for Colorado, what ideas from the left and the right will decrease healthcare costs, how can we improve our schools and help kids get a strong start, and how can we expand opportunity, not just in Denver and Colorado Springs, but across so many parts of our state that have felt left behind by the economic success of the Front Range. So in the spirit of putting problem solving over partisanship, we have a unique opportunity to work together. And we all agree that every child deserves a great education. So let's start with that. It's where I've done a lot of my professional work, and it's where we have a bold agenda for our state. If we really want Colorado to be a place where everybody can build a great life, where our economy can grow, fueled by a skilled workforce, then our schools need to provide students with the tools that they need to succeed. You know, one of the great joys of my life was starting and being superintendent of New America School, a charter school that helps new immigrants learn English and get a high school diploma. I also co-founded a charter school in Denver called the Academy of Urban Learning. I'm proud that New America School now has 3 locations in Colorado and 2 in New Mexico. That hands-on experience working with at-risk kids has really only reinforced my passion to make sure that we can have a systemic approach to empowering social entrepreneurs and school districts to meet the problems on the ground and make sure that every child can succeed. It's truly time for us to build a Colorado education system where every child, regardless of their zip code, their parents' income, their parents' race, gets a great education that prepares them for a bright future. And that all begins with preschool and kindergarten, early childhood education. And that's our top priority, working with Republicans and Democrats this session, is to fully fund full-day kindergarten. And I'm thrilled that in a session that has so many divisive issues, our top priority is not only solidly bipartisan, but the lead sponsor in the House is Republican Jim Wilson of Salida, showing that Republicans and Democrats care equally about finally funding full-day kindergarten and making sure that every child in this state has a chance to have a strong start, saves parents money. In fact, I love the way the Colorado Springs Gazette editorialized in favor of full-day kindergarten. They called it a tax cut for families. We'll take that, because it means that families who are paying $300 or $400 a month for kindergarten now have that money to do whatever they want with, rather than having the government take it for full-day kindergarten. As it stands now, as many of you know, the state only funds half-day kindergarten. Individual districts are all over the place with their practices. Here in El Paso County, many districts divert funding from other sources to try to reduce the cost or a free kindergarten. But all we're saying is kindergarten is every bit as important as first grade and second grade and third grade, if not more. and we should treat it as such from the state level. It makes our communities more livable for families suffering from the high costs of childcare, on top of increasing rents, on top of car payments, to come up with that $300 or $400 a month for kindergarten. In our neighbor to the north, Douglas County, one of the most expensive in the state, I think it's $450 a month for kindergarten for families in Douglas County, really affects the cost of living. And if we want young families to thrive, we need to make sure that we're able to provide high-quality preschool and kindergarten for their kids. It also allows parents the option of re-entering the workforce sooner. I hear from so many parents who they say, why bother working if I'm only earning enough to pay for preschool and kindergarten? So if we can free parents and empower them to make that choice about when they go back to work, that'll also make a big difference for our economy, especially in areas where we lack people with the skills we need to help our economy grow. Our state's strong economy means that we have the ability to do this right now, and we are working hard to do that right now, and we are proud that just today we introduced a bipartisan bill to fund full-day kindergarten in Colorado. Just last week, we worked with the Joint Budget Committee, and we're so thrilled that they came forward with their proposal to reserve $185 million in funding for full-day kindergarten, enough to begin the free full-day kindergarten this fall across our state for so many families. And there's a lot more we need to do in education besides kindergarten. We have an educator shortage, particularly in many of our rural areas. We're about 3,000 teachers down from where we need to be. We're working on a targeted loan relief for teachers who go to teach in underserved rural areas. We're also working at transformative programs to help turn around high schools that have high dropout rates, investing in proven database-backed programs at the 8th, and 9th, and 10th grade level, the high school transition and beyond, so that we can set students up for success. We find that if students are deficient in their credits after 9th grade, they're far more likely to drop out in 11th or 12th grade. So let's get them on the right path from the beginning. We're also working on building stronger high school to career partnerships when we're talking about that transition. And it takes many forms in our state. We have wonderful dual and concurrent enrollment programs, including with Pikes Peak Community College here in El Paso County, where students, the early college high school, which is a great charter school that your former Senator Keith King is the superintendent of and is doing an amazing job serving students across our state. These are models where while kids are in high school, they can get an associate's degree when concurrent with their high school diploma. Because in the 21st century information economy, a high school diploma is not often a ticket for success. It's more than that. Not every kid's going to college, but if you're not, what can you do? Do you have a skill? You can get a skill through an apprenticeship with a program like CareerWise. Do you have an associate's degree that allows you to go to work right away, or transfer to a 4-year, and guess what? Have 2 years done, saving you 50% on your 4-year college degree costs. So these programs exist in different parts of our state, including vocational education. Our goal is to help make them more universal by fostering partnerships between community colleges and school districts, nonprofit apprenticeship programs, union apprenticeship programs, to make sure that we add more meaning to the high school diploma. Because again, 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, a high school diploma alone was often enough to have a ticket to have a middle-class lifestyle in our country. These days, it's more. It doesn't mean everybody's going to a 4-year, but how can we align the skills and competencies of our high school graduates with the needs of our growing workforce? So a lot of our work is around that. In the 21st century, a high school degree is more important than ever before for success. And when our students succeed, our economy succeeds, because a strong economy is built on human capital. I know this firsthand as an entrepreneur, and the men and women that worked for our companies and helped lead to our success. Another top priority, one that is truly lit a fire under Americans here and across our country, is health care. Despite progress in expanding coverage, health care costs are still too high and getting worse, getting higher every year. And Americans on the left and the right, or those who are totally apolitical and apathetic, all know they're getting ripped off on health care. They see it in their premium increases. They see it if they visit the hospital and get a Band-Aid and a $6,000 bill. They see it when their prescription drug rates are jacked up 150% a year for the last few years. Insulin, as an example, has gone up 1,000% in cost in the last 14 years. We all have seen the example that's also been touted in the media of the EpiPen. Again, $450 for a packet of 2 EpiPens. Same product in Canada, $50. Same basic technology that's been available for decades at a greater and greater cost. And so if we truly want to build a healthcare system that puts people first, it's time for innovation at the state level. That's why we created the Office of Saving People Money in Healthcare. And let me say that our bipartisan efforts are going very well to save money on healthcare. We just had an actuarial report come out on our bipartisan effort around reinsurance to prevent the highest cost cases from driving up healthcare for the rest of us. And the initial projections are that when that bill passes and we sign it, in the next pricing period, it'll save people 23% statewide on insurance, average. That's average. And I should add, it's even more in western Colorado, a little bit less in the Front Range. That's because they pay more there now. So the savings might be 30, 35% in western Colorado. They could be 15 to 20% in this area. So those who pay the most will have the largest decrease from reinsurance. Hospital pricing transparency bill. We passed a bill that makes it easier on an emergency basis for people to get prescriptions from qualified pharmacists. We're looking at expanding scope of care around EMTs and nurse practitioners. And of course, we also need to get a grip on some of the social drivers of cost, health and behavior. One of those that, of course, has devastated many families is the opioid epidemic, which has taken thousands of lives here in Colorado, torn apart so many families. In 2017 alone, more than 550 Coloradans died because they overdosed on either prescription or illegal opioids. For the first time in, I think, the last century or half century, the lifespan in our country, average lifespan, actually went down because there's so many people that are taken from us through the opioid crisis. So we have a multifaceted approach with regard to combating opioid addiction, treatment, alternatives for pain management, working to reduce the use where possible. 75% of opioid dependency begins with prescriptions. And we've had a number of Colorado counties, starting with Huerfano County, join in some of the lawsuits in the legal front on some of the opioid manufacturers. We are looking to reduce costs on prescription drugs. Working with the legislature, we're working on a bill to import prescription drugs from Canada to reduce costs and save people money. That saves people money whether you have out-of-pocket on prescription drugs or not, because the high cost of prescription drugs, same exact prescription drug, Americans paying 5-8 times as much as Canada, that's reflected in your insurance rates. So whether it's you're out-of-pocket or not, that's still reflected in you being forced to pay even more on insurance. I'm also proud the legislature has passed a major hospital transparency bill with the support of the Colorado Hospital Association, which will help us identify and address the drivers of higher health care costs moving forward to help the market mechanisms work with pricing transparency. Our ultimate goal is to expand coverage and reduce costs, and I think we will be able to go a long way and produce some real tangible results for small businesses and individuals in particular, and hopefully some savings for employer-based as well. Now, of course, I want to say something I think we also all agree with, that Colorado is the best, most amazing state in the nation, right? We pride ourselves on an unbeatable quality of life, the breathtaking beauty of the state we proudly call home, and of course protecting our special way of life, our public lands, our trails, our air quality is a critical part of not only maintaining that quality of life that we love, but also an important part of our economy around the outdoor tourism and recreation sector. The outdoor tourism industry employs about 230,000 people in our state. And as that economy grows, we look forward to doubling down on supporting the drivers, including making sure we have access to our wild areas, strong conservation measures, opening up additional state parks and trails to help spread the love to additional areas, and of course doing something something about the traffic so that we can access the areas that we cherish and that we love. We also are strongly committed to supporting our agricultural and ranching heritage in our state. And the last few years have been difficult for farmers and ranchers, with the trade wars already having their impact on our ability to sell product across the world, with a damaging drought in parts of our state. It's very important to commit to the sustainable funding for the Colorado Water Plan, which Governor Hickenlooper involved all stakeholders in developing. We're also partnering with organizations like the Rocky Mountain Farmers Co-op Development Center and others to reduce barriers to employee ownership. We just announced, I think yesterday or today, in our Office of Economic Development, we are going to have a concerted effort around co-ops and employee ownership. Traditionally in the ag sector, co-ops have allowed farmers to recognize higher value for their products by having a cooperative arrangement around initial processing, and it has broad ramifications both in ag and outside of ag as we seek to grow the economy. We are also excited to be working on reaching bold renewable energy goals in our state, which are about so many things. Of course, it's about cleaner air, both in El Paso County and in Denver. We've had a number of very poor air quality days affecting childhood asthma and other health impacts. It's about doing our part on climate, but it's also about setting ourselves up to make the future work for us and saving ratepayers and consumers money. Excel will tell you, oh, that's right, you all have a socialized utility here in Colorado Springs. But in the private sector, outside of your little socialist bubble here, Excel will tell you that the cost of new wind energy today costs 20% less than existing coal that they have online. So it's a question of how soon can we retire high-cost coal assets to benefit ratepayers and consumers from lower-cost, cleaner, renewable energy. And it's also about creating the good green jobs right here in Colorado that can never be outsourced to power the 21st century green energy economy. Look, with price declines and trends and technology advances, the move towards renewable energy is taking place. No matter what policy leaders do, it will only accelerate. But as we embrace this future, we also need to make sure that we do right by the men and women working in today's energy workforce. And we're committed to a just transition, ensuring that we provide new opportunities, training, and a thoughtful approach to transitioning the workforce for those who today work in the energy sector. The good news is, if you look at where Colorado will be in 10 years or in 20 years, there'll be as many, if not more, people that work in energy. There just won't all be the same jobs that there are today. And we have to, again, make that future work for us rather than resist that future and risk failing Colorado. And you know, economic diversification and embracing the future is so important for robust economic prosperity over the medium and long term. We are also focused on other industries of the future: advanced manufacturing, biotech, information technology companies here in the Pikes Peak region. I just visited the Cybersecurity Center here in Colorado Springs earlier today and was excited to hear about their accelerator and their work on blockchain. I just signed a bipartisan blockchain bill last week that provides a safe harbor on the securities front for token-based conveyances of value. We're also working with a bipartisan group of legislators on implementing blockchain technology in the ag sector to power the future of farming. And of course, we wouldn't be here in El Paso County without talking about the importance of the defense sector here in Colorado Springs and across our state. Aerospace in the district that I represented in Congress for 10 years. It included the Waterton campus of Lockheed, so I got to see their work up close and personal. And yes, along with both of our great senators who are represented here, Senator Gardner and Senator Bennett, we are renewing our call to bring the Department of Defense's Space Command back home to Colorado. So to keep our economy moving in the right direction, we need to make sure that we invest in the future rather than hold ourselves as hostages to the past. There's a strong foundation to work on, but that's not enough. We still have challenges ahead. We need to come up with a bipartisan funding mechanism for our current and future transportation needs in our state. We need to expand access to rural broadband and internet connectivity. We're also going to continue the work of the Hickenlooper administration in supporting the creation of strategic regional broadband plans to help make high-speed internet access a reality across our state. So many of the issues Coloradans face boil down to opportunity and making the future work for us. The opportunity to grow and start a business, to enjoy Colorado's special way of life, to support yourself, raise your family, to enjoy our great outdoors, and to get a great education that leads to a successful future. Another way we want to do this is working with folks to make our tax code more fair so that we can reduce the income tax rate for Colorado families and for small businesses. Our tax code simply gives too many subsidies to special interests who can afford lobbyists rather than having a market-based allocation system. Under budget expenditures, when the legislature votes, every year they pass every expenditure. We might not agree with everything they do or don't spend money on, but they vote on it every year, unlike tax subsidies, which are on autopilot, some of them since the 1930s. And we need a tax code that reflects today's and tomorrow's realities rather than yesterday's distortions. Our goal is to reduce the income tax rate from 4.63% to 4.4 or 4.3 on a revenue neutral basis by eliminating tax subsidies, and we've identified a number of those. One of those is the vendor fee, which is effectively a subsidy for big box retailers in our state, which is a giveaway to very large retailers that have a much higher state reimbursement for their expenses of collection, the sales tax rate, than their actual rate or that any other state gives to them. So our challenge is really reining in and finding and locating all of these tax subsidies and doing what we can to have a simpler, flatter, lower rate for all Coloradans so that people have a little bit more money left over at the end of every month to enjoy the Colorado we love. And to be clear, our tax reform proposal doesn't change how much money the state collects. It doesn't mean that there's more or that there's less or to invest in our public priorities. It simply says that we should have a tax code that works for the people and small businesses rather than the special interests. You know, what makes Colorado work isn't just the boldness of our ideas, it's also the resilience and the spirit of our people who make change happen, who aren't afraid of change, and who bring bold ideas to life. And our responsibility is to turn challenges and opportunities into ideas and actions. Whenever I hear about a challenge, I always correct the person saying it and say, no, that's an opportunity. And now is the time to really unite around our common purpose, to move forward, to help make sure that our state works even better for everyone here, for our children, and for our grandchildren. Let's get to work. Let's get it done. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Colorado.
Governor Polis, thank you. I noticed I counted 5 times in your remarks talking about growing the economy, growing businesses, growing work. We look forward to working with you and your administration in the coming months, coming years. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 weeks from today, we'll be here, 2 weeks from yesterday, we'll be here, April 4th, for the Athena Awards, an opportunity to recognize leading women in our business community. I hope you'll join us here at the Antlers Hotel on April 4th. Governor Polis, to you and your staff, thank you for spending time in our community, to visit the National Cyber Center, and also to visit Kratos this morning. Appreciate you getting acquainted with some of our key businesses and industries that we have here in the Pikes Peak region. We wish you safe travels back home. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. We're adjourned.